Welcome to Expat Hoops, where we talk to basketball players who have played their pro careers outside of the U.S. Today, we talk with former Division II Mercyhurst University of Pennsylvania player Terry Smith, who has played all across Europe in a career that has spanned over a decade so far.
Just a reminder that we have a new permanent home, our website, expathoops.com. For our audio podcasts, you can find us on all sorts of outlets like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Facebook. Pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us, Expat Hoops. Tell your friends. But now, let's get into it with our guest today as he joins us today from Nantes, France. Welcome to the pod, Terry.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
So you're actually a Division II alum, Mercyhurst University in Pennsylvania. That's one of the things we've been getting into recently with some of our guests. A lot of guys in the European game or overseas game have gone to like Division II, Division III, or even like low majors and everything. And that's sort of one of the really interesting things about overseas is you can get a really, I'll call it an eclectic mix of people that have gone to different schools and thrived in the overseas game. While at Mercyhurst, you were among more of the prolific scorers in the school's history and everything like that. But for somebody that doesn't necessarily know you from Division II, what sort of has been your experience as somebody from a smaller school and trying to get started in the overseas game? Now, granted, this was back in 2008, as you've now had an over decade-long career, but what was that experience like for you as a Division II athlete going pro?
It was very, how can I say it? You gotta have a lot of faith, man, because I really didn't know when that call was coming, how the process was going to be. I was basically trusting everyone's word. An assistant coach of mine, he basically told me, hey, I got a guy who is working for a club in Germany. I would like to send him your stuff and we'll see what happens. You know, that type of thing. It wasn't, yeah, we got this agent, agents are knocking down my door or something like that to sign me. It wasn't anything like that. So my assistant coach, like I said, he sent my my tape and my resume, my CV over to the general manager of this club, Mönchengladbach in Germany. And apparently, he liked it. He sent the contract within a few days. And, that was that. I really didn't have any other options. This was the only contract that I had. So I thought this was the route I had to take. Very low money, very low accommodations, very low level. Everything it was part of my journey, something that I had to do in the beginning. So the experience was very I didn't know what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, but I just had faith that it would. And I stayed ready the entire time.
And so at this point, you didn't actually have an agent. You just basically signed on to this lower level team, right?
Yeah, I had no idea. And I had no one to ask. I didn't even know how the agent situation even worked. So, that story will evolve a little bit later. But like I said, I was just basically trusting the word of other people who kind of, had an idea of how it worked or knew somebody, because I really had no idea.
Well, it's a really good place to start. It's also kind of the way that we connected a little bit too, where you talked about your first year. I think that you said that you made $1,000 a month in the post that I saw online. One bedroom apartment shared with another American, shared the car, worked at basketball camp. Take us through that first year for you. I'm not going to pronounce the team again, but
it's all good. Don't worry.
I think it was in the second tier of Germany's league, and like you said, that's where you got started. But take us through what that first year was like, for better or for worse.
Okay, so at the time the euro was much stronger than the dollar, so I believe I was really getting paid like 750 euros a month in cash. Like the general manager would come to the apartment. I mean, guy was smiling, just counting the little money, to us on the table, because it was another American too. I think it was 750 or whatever it was. Man, the apartment was, it was one bedroom. I got there, it was one full-size bed, and then another bed was like a race car, matchbox car bed, for a child. It was ridiculous. I was 22 at the time, and
wait. Which bed did you have?
Exactly. This is how it goes. So, the guy was 25 years old. I was 22, a rookie. And basically we compromised by saying, okay, you can keep the room, you're going to take the small bed, but I'm going to take the bigger bed and move it to the living room. So that's kind of how it happened. I moved the bigger bed outside, and I didn't have a room. And Matt, which was his name, took the room, but he had the matchbox bed. Yeah, it was crazy. That was embarrassing, man.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want me to continue and elaborate on how it was out there, I can continue on that.
Oh yeah, sure. We just felt like we had to get the most important question answered first. The who got the race car bet.
Yeah, I mean that was tough. There's no way. Well, I was so young and just so eager to do whatever to get started in my career. I didn't care. Like if you would have told me like, hey man, the older guy is going to take the bigger bed, man, that's how it is. I'd be like, okay, whatever. I'm grinding right now. But yeah, it's crazy, man. We had two of everything in the kitchen. You know, he had his side of the refrigerator, I had my side of the refrigerator. He had his time to cook dinner. I would have my time to cook dinner. It wasn't like a collaborative thing. Everything was separate. He had his time to use the car. Oh, it was so annoying. What else was rough? Yeah, it was, man. And I didn't see it that way until later, obviously. But at that time, I was just willing to do whatever. The coach, we had a coach from Chicago, actually, black guy from Chicago. We practiced, we didn't have a gym. So we had to practice every night at some, I don't know what it was, auxiliary gym of some middle school. The floor was all blue. Practiced every night at 8 o'clock, finished at 10 p.m. Had to eat dinner every night at like 10:30, spaghetti bolognese every night, saving money. It was really rough. Yeah, man. We had to work Tuesdays and Thursdays at a school doing a basketball clinic for an hour and a half. And then
we've heard of that, had that happening before.
You say you've heard of that?
Yeah. We've heard of a few of our players that are doing like had to do basketball clinics on the side and stuff like that.
And that's usually worked into the contract that you get extra money to do it, though. Was it something that was a part of your contract and you got extra money, or was it just that you had to do it?
Man, later on, I didn't even realize that, yeah, the other American was getting paid an extra $500 in his contract to do that. So he was getting paid $1,500 a month, and I was getting paid $1,000. And you know why? I'm doing the same job, but I didn't get it $500. But I didn't realize at the time. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So yeah, working these camps on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, and practice at 8 and games on Saturdays. That's basically how it was, man.
Wow. How did that go for you on the court then?
So on the court, very interesting. We had two 44-year-olds and two like 17-year-olds. The team was so randomly composed. And then it had me and the other American. We were both the guards on the outside. And like I said, we had 44-year-olds on the team. We had retired guys who worked at the post office to come to practice late at night. It was a joke. And apparently they were expecting to be top in the league or whatever they wanted.
Really?
But it was.
Did anybody actually scout the team?
I don't know. I mean, it's low-level basketball. They just expect something. They expect the world. They will take Michael Jordan for $1,000 a month if they could.
I'm sure they would.
They always want to get the extreme for low money. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I was playing well. I was averaging 24 a game. They ended up cutting me because we were middle of the pack. They wanted more. So I'm like, what?
They couldn't
get. That was a whole nother situation.
They're getting 24 a game from a guy who's getting paid $1,000 a month, and they cut him.
Yeah, and they cut me in December.
Andy, does this team still exist? We had the last interview. We had a team that doesn't exist anymore.
It folded.
It folded. Okay. Well, there we go. Yeah. We hit on it again. This sounded like heading down that.
No
path
idea what they were doing.
All the signs were definitely there. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, no idea what they were doing, man. And they let me go, and not too far after that, the whole team folded, man. They were awful. Terrible organization.
So an inauspicious beginning to your career, but you are a pro and you are in Europe. You had a pretty rough year in all facets of the game, but then you end up in the Czech Republic. So walk us through how you go from, this particular experience to ending up in the Czech Republic in a place you stayed a couple of years. Did you get an agent in that time? Like, how did this work out for you?
I got to try to figure out how to put this into a short story. So, like I said, I was cut in December. I started my contract in August. I was playing all the way to December, and I went home with $2,000 to my name, trying to save. And obviously I had to live too. I had $2,000. So obviously I have no money. I went to go live with my girlfriend in Erie, Pennsylvania, where my university was. And obviously I wanted to still play basketball, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. So at that time, this was 2009, I had to go to Eurobasket.com. I had to look at each country and go to the agent list on the website.
Oh, wow. The same way we researched some things.
Yes. I went on the agent list and I contacted every agent from like every country and basically had this template that I wrote like, hey, my name is Terry Smith. I played in Mönchengladbach and Pfeffel Lions in Germany. I averaged 24 points. I went to Mercyhurst. I explained everything and I'm looking for a new club. I sent that email maybe at least 30 times a day, literally. Even when I was in Germany at that time, we had to go to an internet cafe because our Wi-Fi in our apartment didn't work well. You had to go to the internet cafe, which is like a room with like a whole bunch of computers set up on a LAN. People are like playing, Warcraft or a lot of computer games in these places.
This is a very good description. The Gen Z listeners need to hear this of what an internet cafe is. They don't know.
Yeah, man, this is real back in the day, man. We talking about Skype days. We talking about, with the camera outside the monitor. I'm still using the tower computers.
Yeah. You only graduated a year after I did, so yeah, I get this. This sounds very familiar to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. So anyway, I had to pay. I don't know what it was. Maybe €2 for every 30 minutes. To go in the internet cafe. Man. So sending these emails out to all these people waiting to hear back. So I'm like, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to get a job with my degree. I have a computer science degree. I'm not going to get a job with my degree. I'm going to continue to work out, try to find something to get money, but I'm going to just send these emails out and wait for somebody to hit me back. I ended up becoming a substitute teacher. I was substitute teaching in Erie, Pennsylvania from February until June. So I was substitute teaching, and I ended up, kind of losing hope, and I was a little bit depressed. And my mom actually had some mother intuition, gives me a call, finds out that I, basically doing nothing with my life. That's how I felt. Call my cousin who's in DC, human resources director down in DC. They got me an interview. I moved to DC. Now I'm doing IT down in DC. And my teammate, who was Bosnian, played in Mercyhurst University. He was Bosnian. He was a Penn State transfer. He didn't play my entire senior year because he was coming back from ACL injury, and he watched my entire senior year. This was first team all conference, all defensive team. I played well. The guy called me and said, "Hey, Terry, you have a job?" I said, "No." He's like, "Send me your stuff." Now I've heard this 100 times from people saying, "Hey, send me your stuff. We'll try to get you a job." And it always falls through. It never works out. So this was just another scenario for me. Hey, a guy's asking for your tape and your resume. Let's see what happens, whatever. To my surprise, the next 3 days, I had a 3-year contract in my email. And I'll never forget, I was in DC with my family and I just started crying. I'm like, man, damn, I thought basketball was over. I didn't know what was going to happen. I see a 3-year contract for more money than I've ever, seen so far. At the time it was beautiful. I got another chance. I'm going to the first division in Czech Republic, and I'm going to play basketball again. Long story short, that was probably the worst decision I ever made to sign this contract because basically I signed my rights away. I had no agent. I read the contract, but this was my only option to get back to playing basketball, so I had to sign it. It was a 1+2. So 1 year plus 2 years on the club if they want to keep me. And I also had a tryout period. So I had a tryout period for 1 month where they can cut me anytime. And if they like me, they'll keep me for the year plus 2 more years without a big increase in salary.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would sign this. Only a desperate person would sign this contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, I go there, I go to Czech Republic. It was a good experience, man. They had like 2 or 3 cup teams. I don't know if you know about European basketball well or not. Do you?
A little bit.
Yes. Feel free to lay it out.
Okay. So basically, kind of like how soccer works, you have the Champions League, and then you have your domestic league. It's the same thing with basketball. Usually the better teams in a specific country will participate in an international competition of the best teams of different countries. You understand what I'm saying?
This is like basketball Champions League, what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the way we kind of likened it, I think off the pod, Tony and I have talked about it, that basically EuroLeague is kind of like what the top clubs in Europe were trying to do in terms of trying to kind of like isolate themselves and be the very, very tippy top. And Champions League is existing now in soccer, but you
have to win your way. You can win your way into it every year.
Yes, exactly. So that's kind of how you typically can tell the strength of a league or a championship. How many teams are participating in international cup competitions?
Yeah, because that's all dealt with in terms of rankings, like rankings of each national squad and national league and stuff like that. So
exactly. So like, for example, Spain, they have multiple international cup teams. They have Real Madrid, they have Barcelona, they have Valencia, Unicaja, Malaga. All these teams are participating in the cups. So this will, kind of like show the strength of this league. Russia's the same, Turkey's the same. Multiple, hold on one second. I'm sorry, keep getting calls. Multiple teams in international cups. So anyway, make a long story short, Czech had 3 or 4 teams participating in international cup competitions in 2009. So the league was pretty good. I was the second leading scorer of the league. And that's when agents started contacting me. I started getting agents in my emails. Now they're kind of knocking on the door. They're kind of asking, like, who's your representation? We can do this for you. We can do that for you. So it's all looking great for me at the time. I'm like, okay, my career basically can kind of start now. When the season finished, the coach basically said, like, hey, you got to, 2 more years. You can't really get out this contract. And in my mind, I'm like, man, I play so well. I should get more money. I can't renegotiate this contract. I've outplayed this entire contract. No, there was nothing I could do. And that was because I didn't have an agent. Anyway, I come back the second year. I'm the leading scorer in the league. Now I'm like, man, I have to get out of here. Like, there's no way I can stay on this team. I'll give you this is a podcast, right? I can kind of say what I want to say, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Please do.
All right, all right. So anyway, I'll make this. I never really told this publicly, but I mean, I give it to you. My second year, I made the All-Star game. The All-Star game is in Prague. All the Americans are there who were chosen for the All-Star game, and we go out. I ended up, going out, getting really drunk. I'm 24 years old at the time, getting really drunk, and I tried to drive my car over a meridian in the between the street, if that makes sense. There's a meridian separating 2 roads going in 2 different directions. My house was literally across the meridian. If to get on the other direction of the street, I would have had to go drive all the way around to come back to go in that direction home.
I see where this is going.
Being drunk, not being it's quicker if I just drive over this meridian. I'm right on the street and I'm going directly home. There was no cars on the street. Idiot. When I tried to drive over the meridian, my car gets stuck like a teeter-totter over the meridian.
You're high centered, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I get out. I'm with 2 people from Czech, and I try to push the car over to get off the meridian so I get back onto the street.
And this is the team car, correct?
Yes, the team car. Police come. They don't ask any questions, breathalyze me. I'm totally over the limit. I ended up getting arrested. I get arrested. I go, and this is Prague, man. I'm in Czech Republic, Prague jail. This is ridiculous. horrible experience, very dirty, very disgusting. I'm very embarrassed, obviously. I have to call my coach. Coach called the GM. They get me out the next day. The story's in the paper. Terry Smith's arrested, drunk driving, bad image on the club. The club ends up finding me 3 salaries, and I had to find a lawyer because this is a crime. Again, long story short, I go to court. I win the case apparently, but I'm still, I'm kicked out of the country for 2 years. I can't come back to Czech Republic because that's a crime and I'm a foreigner. Can't come back to the club. I also lose 3 salaries from the club. But this is the kicker. They owed me 3 salaries. They didn't pay me. I was paying for free at the time. I wasn't getting any money. I was for 4 months. I didn't get paid. I remember we talking about an all-star at this time. The leading scorer in the league. I had no money. The season finished. I'm still the leading scorer of the league, and they say, you must come back. You have contract. What do you mean? I've been kicked out of the country, and you owe me 3 salaries. Listen, man. Keep all of the money you owe me, and just release my players' rights. So I can obviously sign an agent and start my career. That's basically what happened, man. So the first 2 years, I didn't make nothing. Basically no money, man. The second year, the contract was for $3,000 a month. They weren't paying me. I was getting paid $1,000 a month the first year. It was no money, man. I got paid no money those first 2 years. It's crazy.
That's
what a story. So let's recap this for a second. So you're
By the
in
way,
Germany.
we've got a lot more seasons to get through.
yeah, for sure. I didn't think about it. I told y'all that story, man, so yeah, it can get a little bit lengthy.
That is, I don't know. We've heard some stories about the beginnings of careers. This is pretty high up there in terms of severity of a situation.
Also, the other thing is in my day job, I'm a lawyer, and part of my practice is doing DUI and criminal defense work. And I've never heard of a story where a DUI has led to such, for lack of a better term, positive outcomes.
Crazy. It worked out. It worked out in that sense because it put my back against the wall. Like, man, hey, what are you gonna do? You're gonna come back here? Because they would figure something out to get me to come back in the country because they said I had a contract. I'm sure of it. But for them to know, like, they could just play with my money like that, like Terry's going to come back and play. He's got this talent. We got this talented player, but we don't have to pay him. It was a win-win for them.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
I had to, let them keep the money to get me out the contract, man.
It's fine by you.
Yeah.
By that point, they're not paying you anyway. So
yeah,
what's the difference?
They're paying me anyway. I'm like, this is like slavery right now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm gonna get out of here, man.
So if you're keeping score at home, 2008, you're in second tier league in Germany, sleeping in a matchbox bed, getting paid peanuts and sharing an apartment. And then for 2 years in the Czech Republic, you're again getting paid peanuts. You signed your life away. And you end up getting a DUI, and then you end up getting off the team because of that after they weren't paying you for several months.
Right.
So here we are. We've landed in 2011.
Crazy. All right.
You have a pro career now. It exists on paper.
Yes.
And you have played quite well for your team that you were signed through 2011 in the Czech Republic. So now you go to Switzerland. And what is this like?
And was this at the point that you picked up an agent?
Yes.
Yes, I got an agent.
Hallelujah.
The time I was in between 2 agents at the time of choosing one or the other. But I ended up choosing, the guy who lives in Switzerland. He's an Armenian. That's how I became an Armenian too. I have an Armenian passport. But anyway, that's the story. It's going to get pretty lengthy, like I said. Anyway. I chose this Armenian agent from Switzerland because he came to me directly with a contract. He didn't say anything like, oh, I love your game. I can do this for you, do that for you. He said, hey, I got a team who wants you right now. Here's the money. We can, start in start our collaboration together right now. I said, yo, I like this guy. He's about getting money. He's about making moves. I'm signing. So I signed with this guy in Switzerland. The money was so nothing extravagant. I think it was like, I don't know, 40 grand, I think, for the season, but it was much more than what I was making before. So I'm like, okay, 40 grand now. Maybe I'll keep killing and I'll just keep moving up. So now I'm Swiss, making, so money. And I had another good season, man. I was playing well. Our team went to the finals of the Cup. We were a really good team and I played well. First team all league and everything. And and that's kind of when it started.
So we talked about getting things going. How was that on the court for you at that point? Because you were a leading scorer in the Czech team. How was that going for the Swiss team?
For the Swiss team, it was good, man, because Nantes was the team I played for in Switzerland. They have really good fans, man. They were really great fans. We were winning games. I think at one point we were in first place. Then I think we dropped to like second or whatever it was. We went to the Cup final. Everything was great until the end of the year. We went quarterfinals, game 7, semifinals, game 7. We lost the final game to go to the finals of the league. And that was a little bit disappointing because we thought we had a really, really good team to win the championship. We ended up losing the semifinals. So, but individually, it was a good year statistically.
And off the court, what was the setup like with your Swiss team at that point in time? We've actually heard from some other people varying accounts of playing in Switzerland. Some were getting paid lower amounts, some were getting paid well. But what was your experience like in Switzerland at that time?
Just the living part?
Yeah.
Man, at the time, it was cool, man. I had a nice apartment in Monte, which was, I don't know if you know anything about Switzerland. It's near Montreux. It's a very beautiful place, very expensive, and it's right by a beautiful lake. Beautiful. Swiss is a very beautiful place to live, high standard of living, but very, 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 very expensive. Very expensive. I think that's the first time I seen a number 1 on the McDonald's menu for like $20.
Ooh.
It was like, at the time it was like $20 for a number 1. I'm like, what is this? But anyway, other than that, the people were very friendly. The food was good. The basketball conditions obviously weren't A1, but it was getting better from where I started. The first place, I wasn't practicing at 8 o'clock at night anymore. We had a gym. Like I could get in the gym and get extra work in. I had a weight room. Things were starting to slowly get better. And that's how it was for me in Swiss.
So the next season, you're going to wind up in Bulgaria. Take us through what that experience was like.
That was, again, it was another step. Now I'm playing in an arena now. We're fitting like, 5,000 people in the gym. But it's Bulgaria, though, so it was a little bit different experience. The lifestyle in Eastern Europe is much different than Western Europe. Much different. We're talking Balkan region countries. The mentality, everything is different. Also, going there, the diversity is not the same either. I'm also a Black guy in Eastern Europe, 2012. You know how it's probably going to be. It's probably going to be like, people looking and staring, because not only because, just I'm Black, but I am very different though. Like they don't see this every day. This is a small town in Bulgaria in the mountains. The town, I don't know how much they had, a few thousand people, like it's just where it was. But the team that I was playing for had, some pretty good coaches. The assistant coach played in America. He actually played at Boston College, a Bulgarian guy, very athletic. So he was a good coach. We were a very good team. I think everybody from that team went on to make a lot more money or bigger league, everybody. One guy actually is still playing in Maccabi Tel Aviv, still to this day, Angelo Calaro. We're talking about real high level. We're talking about NBA players, $500,000 contract salaries, like, serious money. Great experience, man. We were the top 3, one of the top 3 teams in the league. At that time, there was a Euro Cup team in the league. and I think there was another international cup team. But either way, we competed with all the top teams in the league. We had really good players, and I think we finished third place in everything: cup, championship. It was a good experience.
And so from there, you end up in Ukraine for a year at Cherkasy Bavpi. First of all, I have to ask, in the context of everything that's going on currently in Ukraine, were you there? Because the Euromaidan was in 2014. Were you there when that was happening?
When they had the first war?
Yeah, the Maidan. Yeah, the first overthrow of the pro-Russia president.
So this is what they told me. Because we had preseason camp in an island beach area called Sevastopol. Mm-hmm. It was like, we took a bus. It was like 18 hours or something like that from Cherkasy. It was crazy. There was no flights. It was ridiculous. We went all the way down for this preseason camp. And as soon as we left, Russia wanted control over this area, this beach area. And that's what they were saying, like, started kind of like that war between Russia and Ukraine, because Ukraine was invading the Sevastopol area and was just taking it over.
Correct. And apparently that was the annexation of Crimea, which was their reaction to this whole color revolution. Yeah.
Crimea. Yeah, that's what they call it too. Yeah. Yes.
So you were in Crimea during the time. Okay.
I was there in Ukraine during this time. We had to evacuate. This is what they said. So in February, the president calls me in the office and basically said, we can't guarantee your safety.
Yeah.
Goes underneath the desk. He opens up like one of those combination locks. He gave me my last bit of my salaries and a flight. And he said, I wish you all the best. God bless, because we can't protect you over here. We can't even protect ourselves, right now. So that's basically what happened.
Wow.
It's actually kind of incredible you got that. That's incredible, because a lot of teams might just say, yeah, we're aware of what's going on, but keep playing.
Yeah, but
but it's getting a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit crazy. We had one of our former guests was Mo Creek,
right,
who was actually in Ukraine and didn't get a chance to leave before stuff really started to hit the fan.
And the team kept on telling him, yeah, it's bad, but it's all right. It's basically kind of like, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. And yeah.
It was not okay. It was not okay at all.
It wasn't okay. Right.
He took a 16-hour car ride to get out of the country, I think.
Yeah, it took first, I mean, there were several failed attempts, which we can rattle off. But yeah, when he was actually finally successful, a trip that should have taken, I think, probably, 4 or 5 definitely hours. Less than 8, I think. Took something like 16.
Yep.
It was a tough situation, man. Ukraine was tough, man. Good league too at the time.
So for those of you tuning in at this point and watching in this broadcast, you may see a notable change of scenery amongst the 3 people that are on the screen right now. Don't be alarmed. We did not just change clothes and come back and start filming halfway through this. We broke this up into 2 parts. Terry Smith has enough of an amazing story that we had to break the actual interview up into 2 parts. So we want to go ahead and continue with that. We left off last we left him. He had left a pretty poor situation in Ukraine after the invasion of Crimea. He had left there. We're into the 2014 season, and we're talking about his short stint in Croatia before he heads to Bulgaria. So Terry, why don't you pick it up from there?
Yeah. So after the president of my team in Ukraine gave us our final salary and a farewell, I went to Dubai. I had a friend there who was playing, and obviously I was in between jobs. So I was there training and just waiting for my agent to call me. And he called with the Croatian deal and ended up leaving a week later. And it was actually very surprising of how it was in Croatia. Before that, I've never been to Croatia. So I was expecting it to be similar to the other Balkan countries that I've seen, Albania, Serbia, Macedonia, things like that. But when I got there, man, Croatia was beautiful. I was near Split in Vodice. This is
Split, Croatia. My colleague in my day job is from Split, Croatia, so that is his hometown. He's told me a lot about it.
right, beautiful. But I was near Split, so I'm near the entire area by the coast.
Yeah, the Dalmatian coast.
The Dalmatian coast. There you go, Dalmatia. Yeah. Okay, my guy knows his geography.
In this case, especially.
I see. So yeah, I was in Vodice, and it was like a vacation, man. I lived. The owner of our team was the owner of a hotel chain or something like that, and so where I lived in this 4 or 5 star hotel on the beach in like the suite, at the top of the hotel. For me, it was amazing.
I have to say, you quite literally, your story at this point is started from the bottom. Now you're here.
Here. Not yet. I'm still not even there yet, but I'm on my way going.
Well, I mean, from 2008 to 2014, you went from staying in a place and having like half your apartment being a car bed to a 4 or 5 star hotel on the Dalmatian coast. I mean, that's pretty good.
Right. Yeah, no, it's big difference for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice, man. And in Croatia, they really know basketball. Just the whole ex-Yugoslavian countries know basketball, period. So the basketball was good. Players were good. I don't have anything really crazy to say about Croatia, man. Just, hard practices, and we were fighting for something. The league basically got split into 2 different parts. The first, you play everybody in the league. The first half of the season, you play everybody in the league. Then the second half of the season, only the top 4 teams of the regular season, and then the 4 international cup teams from Croatia comes back to play. So then I would leave you with 8 teams, maybe 6 teams. So the top 4 teams of the regular season plus Zadar, Cibona, and Cedevita. These are the 3 biggest teams in Croatia. They all come back to play in the domestic league the second part of the season. And that's what my team goal was. And that's why they signed me. They had 3 games to play. They needed to win 2 of them to continue to play in the Super League. That's what they call it when the bigger teams come back. Anyway, man, it was great, man. Good coach, good players. We qualified for the Super League thing. And it was nice, man. Played 3 months there in Croatia.
And same year, you move on to Bulgaria. You go to Lukoil Academic Sofia. Staying in the capital of Bulgaria, you were the champions of the Bulgarian league that year. So as far as basketball concerned, in terms of the team, one of your best.
Definitely. Lukoil, I don't know if you ever heard of Lukoil, but that's an oil company.
Yeah.
You look gas, you're talking about Russian oil money. This is real money, man. Like I went from making $1,000 a month to now we in the 6 figures now. You know what I'm saying? So money has definitely increased, and the pressure has increased because when the money goes up, now the goals and the expectations are higher too. It was me and D Brown in the backcourt. I mean, he was an NBA player. He played for best players in college basketball. He was a friend of Sports Illustrated.
Illinois, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Illinois lost in the final. Carolina.
Yep.
Who else do we have that you might know? We had Daryl Watkins, who also played in the NBA, and he played for Syracuse University. A few guys. I can keep going on and on. Bruno Shunov, Croatian guy, played in the NBA. A lot of good players. This team was probably at that time the biggest team I played for sure.
And what was it like on the court in Bulgaria? We haven't had a lot of people talk about their time in Bulgaria. Not a lot of people who've been on the show have played there. So tell us about how the league compares with some previous leagues that you had been a part of, because you had been on a Bulgarian team in a couple of years prior to that, but it wasn't quite as big, wasn't quite the team that you had previously. So this was a pretty big deal in terms of an upgrade in terms of the talents you're playing against.
Right. I would say just the domestic league, Bulgaria, I mean, they're tough, man. This is Eastern Europe. This is that, Cold War block, man. It's the cities, they look like they're, some of the cities look like they were kind of still under war situations like, but there's a lot of beautiful parts in Bulgaria too, man. A lot of nature. I would just say a lot of green, man. It's very natureful, if that's a word, but in Bulgaria, man, it was pretty.
It's close enough.
Right. But you understand what I'm trying to say. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
A lot of nature.
Oh yeah. And so the following year, you're in Turkey. I want to make a point here to talk about our last guest, Alex Renfro, who in part of his podcast talked about Turkey being a league that he felt was a lot of one-on-one play. So can you speak to that as far as your time at Sakarya?
Yeah, man. Turkey, the Americans were all good. They were all good players. I mean, I think I was playing against, Josh Shelby. He also, I think, got drafted to the Grizzlies or something like that. There's another scorer, lefty, probably one of the best scorers I've seen in Europe, man. I mean, like, it was really good offensive players in Turkey, man. Turkey is the league, like, you really have to have a very good individual skill set to be successful out there. That's how I felt.
So you also, in the same year that you end with Turkey, you end up playing for Asvel. This again, you're at this point in your career, you're slowly upgrading the level of talent that you're playing against. I would say is an accurate portrayal of what's been happening the past 2 or 3 years as you go through.
Well, with Asvel, you're pretty much a EuroLeague. You are a EuroLeague team.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you're now in EuroLeague. You're playing with this team. What was that like for you to get to a point where you were, considering the first half of the interview that we talked to you about and how difficult things were? Now you're in 2016, 8 years after the start of your career, you're starting to be among the elite teams in Europe.
First off, I was just so grateful, and just, that was the point where I kind of like just took a step back and just said, man, where I came from, all those, all the nights, training alone, all those sacrifices that you had to make, to do that. I felt that everything was kind of coming together. The money was coming together, the level was coming together. I was starting to see the fruition of my work. It was great, and it's funny how life works, because as soon as I got to that high feeling of, I'm getting into my own in my career and where I want to be, that's when I tear my ACL. And yeah, man, I mean, everything else besides that was incredible, man. I felt like I made it at that point, but things can happen. So we need to enjoy the moments in the present, man, because you never know, because anything can change at any moment.
Mm-hmm. And so how long into the season did you get injured?
Man, I think it was our third game in the French league. I think it was about the third game.
So that was pretty early in the season.
Yeah, I got it early, man. They got it early, and I had to watch. We ended up winning the French league that year, and I had to watch everything from the sideline. That hurt.
Yeah, I bet.
And so what was that like with your career then? Because, I mean, you don't really have much of a gap or anything on your resume, so to speak. And actually, after having that significant of an injury, what was that like?
To continue, after that? Like, you mean like,
yeah.
What did I do after that? So during the rehab, it took about 7 months before I was able to play professionally again. And so that would mean that I would miss, because I had the surgery in March. I would miss the beginning of the season. So I probably am not going to sign in the off season like, every previous years, or like, most people do. My agent called me with an opportunity, man. He said, hey, the basketball in Armenia is growing. They had just won some FIBA something for small countries or something like that. And the growth of basketball in that country was growing. So they were like, Armenia is looking to have a team in the Russian league, and they have this amount of money, which wasn't the same amount, that I was making, I had made for myself. But they said, what they can make up in money, they'll make up by giving you a passport. Now, I don't know if you know how that's beneficial in the basketball world, but it basically puts me in a smaller pool of players.
You basically become Armenian.
No, I was, exactly. I become Armenian, but you got to understand how the structure works. So not in every country you play in, there's a limit of Americans.
Right.
Every country playing is a limit of Americans. Even in some countries, there's a limit of European players from another country called Bosmans. There's a Bosman A, Bosman B. It gets kind of specific, but so there's rules. Now with my passport, my Armenian citizenship, I'm not considered an American anymore, and now I'm considered a Bosman. So my competition now isn't that I'm competing for positions with other Americans. Now I'm only competing with other players that either have a passport or other European players. And that, obviously adds more value to me and 14.
Yeah, because if they have you, it's basically like adding another American without adding an American.
Bingo. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep, that's the better way to say it. That was what I was trying to say.
Yeah. And so anyway, they offered the contract and they offered the passport. I go there in September and they gave me the passport in like a month and a half. Man, it was quick. Got the month and a half, and we were playing all our games in the Russian league. So we would be in Armenia and we would fly. I had to fly near Japan in Vladivostok. It's a city right on the coast. So that would be the eastern coast of Russia, which is right next to Japan from Armenia. I think it was, I don't know, it was a 12-hour flight or something like that. It was a long flight, man. We're flying long flights for these games, man. It was crazy. And we were awful. We were terrible. We lost every game. And I think I got one salary. It was just a horrible situation. The team ends up folding in November. Team folds, but I still have my passport. So I go to Dubai with a friend who was playing there to just train and wait until my agent calls me from a new job. And that's when I got the call to go to Juventud Badalona in Spain, the best league in Europe.
And there you go. So you're after that brief stint in which you tear your ACL and then you end up on a Armenian team that's really bad, you make lemons from lemonade and you end up in Spain. So what was your experience like in Spain? The Spanish league, we talked about it earlier in the interview. Basically, in terms of single country, probably the best league in the world outside of the U.S.
100%. You got to think. I mean, just to go to show, my first game against Real Madrid. So the scouting, when you're watching scouting on that level, I mean, you're watching, EuroLeague games. So you got a big poster of all the players' profiles, stats, everything like what they like to do, weaknesses, strengths, things like that. And they're like, Terry, yeah, you've got Luka. I'm like, Luka? Okay, I'm looking. I see this guy's numbers. I'm like, this guy's numbers are great. Like, who is this kid, man? He's like 17, 18 years old at the time, and he was like the go-to guy for Real Madrid in EuroLeague. I'm like, man, whatever, man. There's no 18-year-old's going to kill me. I don't care who he is. You know what I'm saying? That was my mind,
This feels like Chappelle's "When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong" moment.
No, it's just, I just wasn't kind of expecting that, kid was 18. I mean, we're in Europe, I mean, I don't think anybody's like a crazy NBA player, just my competitive sense of the word comes out in that sense. I'm like, man, this guy, he's not better than me. This is just a competitor's way of thinking. But yeah, long story short, man, that was Luka Doncic, man. You're talking about top 5 NBA player right now. And just goes to show you the level of what I'm talking about when we're talking about Spain. Man, that was my cover for the game that day. The next day.
So they said you got Luka. So
yeah, I had Luka and I had Sergio Yul. I mean, either one, if you follow European basketball, man, it's tough.
How did that go for you?
You know what's crazy? We ended up losing by a tipping.
Oh.
was right there. I mean, I played for Barcelona is a really big team, a lot of history. If you're going to know, that's where the Dream Team won the gold medal. That's where Michael Jordan played at '92 Olympic team.
Right.
In Barcelona. So this is a really, really big club. And we fit, I don't know what it was, 13,000 in the arena. And that's pretty big for Europe, to have that many people at a game and have a facility that can hold that, that's a pretty big deal. But anyway, we ended up losing by a tip in at the buzzer, man, off a missed free throw.
Oh, Lordy.
Yep, Felipe Reyes. I'll never forget.
Got to find that highlights on YouTube somewhere. That's got to be out there.
It might be.
Well, with Doncic and a win on a tip in, that sounds like one that should. If any historian wants to keep that game in records, it should be out there for the taking somewhere. We'll have to look that up. How'd your team finish for the season?
I think we were, our goal at that time was just to stay in the league, man. We were, I think when I got there, they're probably like 12 or something like that. But yeah, the goal at that point was just to stay in the league. And I mean, in the ACB, the bottom team can kill you. So it was really tough, to even, you're just fighting to stay in the league. You're not really playing for the playoffs, but you got to win these games. And they were tough. It was mentally, like, you had to be focused, man. I couldn't relax. It was no relaxing in Spain. That's for sure.
We talked before about going up and down. You tore your ACL, went to an Armenian team, had a bad time. You went to the Spanish club playing against Luka Doncic in one of the better international leagues in the world.
Right.
2017 to 2018, you end up with the French team HTV Basket. They were in Pro A. They were not in Pro A for very much longer after that. And in fact, the club was forced to dissolve shortly thereafter. He ended up only 6 wins, 2017 to 2018. So probably a similar experience to Armenia, perhaps a bit more positive. Maybe I'm being too optimistic.
No, it was a lot better because, crazy. I think we won our first like 4 or 5 games in a row. And we were like the talk of the league in the beginning because compared to the other budgets of the clubs in the league, we weren't even close. And we beat, like Limoges. I think we beat the champions that year with DJ Stevens, Le Mans. We beat some pretty good teams. So, for a moment, we were the talk of the league. Then, which kind of killed our spirit, we were punished by what happened the year before. Apparently, Hier Toulon, that's the name of the team, HTV, the president, he was something in the upper management, was basically having false financial records. He got caught with his wife on the payroll. He got caught, not documenting all the money correctly. And once that happened and they caught him, we were penalized for that. And we lost 3 of our wins in one period. And we went from 5th place to last place once they did the court case.
Yeah, generally, I follow a lot of pro soccer. That's sort of like going into administration, having scandal plague stuff, and then you end up being docked points and being relegated and all that good stuff. But so could be better, could be worse. 2018 to 2019, you ended up with a Swiss club that is familiar to us. We interviewed a person who is currently in Geneva, who used to play for Léons de Geneviève in Geneva. That was Michel Ofik Negizi. He was there, I believe, in around the time when COVID hit, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us about your time with that club. Hopefully your time in Geneva was a little bit better than his at the time.
So Geneva is like, how can I explain this? I'm trying to do it in the, nice. The teams think they're bigger than what they are. So they put a lot of pressure on you. We had the biggest budget in the league. So yeah, it was a lot of pressure in Geneva, man. me coming back to Geneva after playing for the clubs I was playing for was like a big deal. So like for me signing in Geneva, it was kind of like, for sure they're going to win this championship, I think, type of thing. This was the talk of the signing. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So when I signed in Geneva, it was, if you lose a game, this might not be the right guy for us type of deal.
Yep.
We had to win everything. We got to every final that it was. There's two different cups in Swiss. There's the League Cup and then there's a Swiss Cup. And then you obviously have the regular finals of the league. We made it to all three finals. We won one. So it was it was a situation where it was good because we were winning games and we won one cup. So that was a great moment. But like the times when we lost in the final, it was like, no, was Terry right guy, right players around him, his right coach, everything was questioned after that. So it had its good and it's had its bad.
Get you to where you're currently at. Like you said, you have signed a multi-year deal. It's where you've been since 2019. Take us through what it's like playing in France again.
France is cool, man. I like the city. Nantes is a nice city. It's a lot to do. And it's a happening city. It's pretty lively. Like, you know, you go downtown, there's a lot of people outside. There's a lot of different restaurants, bars, things to do. I like it here a lot. A lot of diversity here. A lot of culture, different type of culture when it comes to restaurants and things like that. That's cool. I like that. And I really liked my coach. My coach, you know, he was probably, out of all the coaches that I've played for, I mean, he probably wasn't the best technical. He probably wasn't the best, you know, development guy. But when I tell you good person, I mean, he was like one of the best people I've been around. You never had to worry about him talking behind your back or him selling you out to the management because you lost the game or anything like that, because that happens. When coaches are in that hot seat, they will throw any of their players under the bus, or they'll fire you, they'll blame you, they'll do anything. You know, our coach, JB, was the type of, if we didn't make the goals or if things didn't happen right, you know, he'll put it on himself. And he was just that type of person, man. I really respected him. That was another reason why I continued to come back.
Oh, and you've been there quite a while. You were there pre-COVID. So you remember a time before COVID in the same city that you were actually in. We talked about people's various COVID stories. So being essentially with the same team in the same city, what has that been like for you as you've been there basically for the duration of the pandemic?
Man, it was smooth, man. I've heard a lot of horror stories and a lot of bad, you know, situations with players and things like that. But, you know, when you play in France, this is the benefit of playing in France. Everything is professional and safe. You always going to get your money, whether it's from the club, from the government, from anything. I mean, you're going to get your money and on time. And even when the pandemic hit, we got paid. You know, the government can finish the contracts for employers. So it was a lot of government assistance and everything. I stayed here. I never went home. I stayed here in France. You know, obviously I have free healthcare here and things like that. Like, for me, it would have been stupid for me to go home. I mean, I've been spending more money. If I got sick, you know, I have no health insurance in the States because I'm not even there majority of the time. It just would have been tough. So my situation was smooth. I was here in France. I had access to the gym. I still was getting paid. Everything was smooth.
Happy to hear that. Also, I guess by the sound of it, I mean, you really made yourself quite a home there in your current city.
Comfortable, man. Got comfortable. Nothing we can really ask for here, man. You're not far from the beach. Your city has, you know, restaurants and things to do, nightlife. I play in a nice gym. I really, you know, everything. There's no reason to leave, you know, to find out if the grass is greener on the other side, because that's too much of a risk. I mean, at this age, at this point in my career, I think, you know, finding somewhere more stable just made more sense.
And speaking of that, you know, you talked about your age. We've gone through illustrious, coming up on 15-year career now. A little bit of time left in Nantes. What does the future hold for you? Where do you think your career goes from here?
My plan is to stay in France until 2024. I can get the naturalization here, so I'll basically be a French citizen out here. So I think it'd be better for me to stay out here for 2 more years. And then depends on my body, man. If I can still go out there and play at a good level, I'm out here playing, man. I love the game, still passionate about it. So I'm still going to be doing it, man. Just see where it goes, man. See where my agent can take me.
There are worse places to live out the twilight of your career than France. I'll say that.
Exactly.
So thank you, Terry, for joining us on Expat Hoops. For any content you don't hear on the audio pod, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe and like our videos. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, comment on what you thought. You can also stop by our website, expathoops.com. Take a look around. We have some merchandise to sell all of you. Terry Smith, thanks for being on. We'll get into some expat extras here in a minute. But for now, thanks for talking about your career with us.
No problem, man. Thank you.